And Natembeya, therefore, has become a thorn in the flesh because he has formed what we call the Tawe revolution or the Tawe movement. Which, if you see the clips that emerge from Trans Nzoia, anybody is found to be unhappy. And Wetangula should forgive people when they don't like him or they don't believe in him, because he can easily be a wheeler dealer. I've given you the case of the late Ouko. He was the lawyer for the family. Then he changed and he became nominee of Kano. So now the circumciser seems to be at variance with the position of the initiate. And the initiate seems to be doing better than the circumciser. So that's why the circumciser was down and he had to use some few guys to come and almost clip the camera because he was not going to get there safely.
What an honor, what a privilege to have you on Richard Mwenje Exclusive, the only point of call on matters, politics and governance here in Kenya and across our borders. My name is Richard Mwenje. I'm so glad that you've joined us. And with me today to discuss a plethora of issues in the world of politics and governance is none other than former minister and such a renowned public policy analyst and governance expert, Ruto Arab Kirwa. Greetings, sir. How are you?
Salama kabisa.
Easter is fast approaching. What are your plans? Heading out of the country maybe?
No, I can't afford. I would rather go to Kitale. Yeah, my base and my home. Or go to the farm in Kajiado. Or go to the farm in Nakuru.
When many of your former colleagues are heading to Mombasa and other big destinations out here?
Well, it's always what makes you happy. At times even I enjoy being not indoors, but within my compound here in Nairobi.
And you're contented with that? I'm
contented. At times you just reflect about life. You reflect about so many things and you thank God for the blessings that you've gained throughout life. There are many people who are with us, they are no longer with us.
True.
Who are even more hardworking, but they are still struggling. So in most cases I thank God for the little that he has given me. Yep.
Very well, that off the way, let's dive straight to the day's conversation, and this has to do with Western Kenya politics, and also we're gonna have a special bias on the political feud between National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula and Trans Nzoia Governor George Natembeya. You are from Trans Nzoia, and I want to understand this. It is the first term for Governor Natembeya, but he seems to be a thorn in the flesh of National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula, who is a seasoned politician. What do you think is that X factor that has set Natembeya apart from the rest, that is now the point of call when it comes to sort of Western politics?
Yeah, you know, Richard, Trans Nzoia is a unique county in the sense that it has its own national diversity because a number of communities from all over the country live in Trans Nzoia. The majority of them are Luyas, perhaps followed by the Kalenjin, the Kikuyu, the Kisi, the Luo, and many other tribes in Kenya. And that diversity gives it a unique kind of product that people are likely to be more level-headed politically. They are likely also to be more tolerant to diversity. And of course the rallying call that I had when I ran for office in 2013 was unity in diversity, being cognizant of the fact that Trans Nzoia as is a place where it can create or destroy great leaders. Trans Nzoia also has very unique positioning that arises out of that diversity. The people in the former Western Province believe Trans Nzoia is their baby. The people in the former Rift Valley, the Kalenjin, believe Trans Nzoia is their baby. So at times those of us who live in Trans Nzoia, we are at pains to explain to them we are a county of our own. Live us the way we are. The Luyas that are our neighbors are our brothers. The Kikuyus, the Kisis, the Luos who are our neighbors, these are our people. Yes, I may speak the language that you speak in Nandi, or in Wasingishu, or in Marakwet, but at the end of the day, my home is Trans Nzoia, and that recognition must be maintained. Fast forward The majority of the Luhya in Trans Nzoia are the Bukusu, and majority of Luhyas in Bungoma are also the Bukusu. So when you are dealing with Trans Nzoia and Bungoma, these are like Siamese twins. And in the past, any leader that emerges in Trans Nzoia is likely to have influence all the way to Bungoma, Kakamega, and perhaps some parts of Vihiga and Busia, given the fact that when you talk of the Luhya in Trans Nzoia, they are not just from former Bungoma, and therefore any leader who is able to weld that diversity is likely to have a lot of influence all the way to Busia.
Very well.
And therefore, and of course it is evidenced by the fact that one of the first freedom fighters, the late Masinde Muliro, came from Trans Nzoia, and he was almost a de facto Luhya leader until the emergence of people like the late
Wamalwa Kijana?
No, not even Wamalwa. The late Moses Mudavadi, the late Mwangale, and the late Osogo. Otherwise, Masinde Muliro was the de facto Luhya leader. And even when there was the issue of the leadership of KADU, which was one of the two parties that fought for independence between KADU and KANU, Muliro was in KADU, and Western Kenya, except for the Maragoli section, went to KADU. Maragoli remained in KANU, and the Ateso. So this is historical, and these are facts. Fast forward, the late Vice President Michael Wamalwa Kijana also hailed from Trans Nzoia. Of course, he struggled over the period, but by the time he passed on, he was the Vice President of the Republic. And perhaps, had God given him more days, he would have taken over from the late President Kibaki. So that creates that problem. And therefore, what happens in Trans Nzoia is likely to affect greatly the rest of Western. And that may be the concern the Speaker has by the fact that in the last election, he was not able to control Trans Nzoia. Bungoma went yellow, but Trans Nzoia went blue. And out of the 5 MPs in Trans Nzoia, 3 of them were in Azimio. Only 2 remained in Kenya Kwanza, that is the MP for Kwanza and the MP for Endebess. So this is an area that worries anybody who wants to remain relevant in Luhya politics.
Very well.
And Natembeya, therefore, has become a thorn in the flesh because he has formed what we call the Tawe Revolution, or the Tawe Movement.
Tawe Movement.
Which, if you see the clips that emerge from Trans Nzoia,
sure, anybody
is found to be unhappy. So in the last 2 or 3 weeks, there was a scuffle fomented by one of the MPs who now is leaning towards Wetangula in a place called Chebarus in Cherangani. And when this funeral of the lady took place, it's like all the forces were ready. But possibly the Wetangula side did not prepare so very well. And that's why they overpowered until literally Wetangula was to be covered using even chairs, and he looked like a fugitive in his own country.
A fugitive in his own country.
In his own country.
Yeah. I like it when I take you down memory lane because you have history at your fingertips.
Thank you.
And that is something you should be doing more often.
Yes.
But let me now ask you this, still on matters, the altercation that happened back in Trans Nzoia during the burial ceremony.
Yeah.
For the Speaker of the National Assembly, the position that he holds, do you consider that he's stooping so low and he's sort of indignifying that office, going down and stooping low to local leadership politics, and one that is mad with goonism and all sort of violent expressions?
You know, it's a product of our politics in Africa. It's not Kenya alone. In the sense that what makes leaders great or not so great is the capacity to tolerate divergent view. But many leaders in Africa, they don't tolerate divergent view, and that's why you find them at variance with the public opinion to the extent that there are many coups in Africa. In fact, for the last 5 years, there have been more than 7 coups and counter coups and repeated coups and military takeovers. This is a situation that is akin to Africa, largely because the elite, when they are in power, they think the public is stupid. Number 2, when the elite amass almost at the expense of public kitty, people know and they feel bad. Number three, there is what we call trust deficit. Trust deficit in the sense that whoever gives you position today, tomorrow you'll be checking to see whether you are still towing the line or you are at variance with the position that you developed at the beginning of time. Those are some of the challenges that, and therefore, Wetangula cannot believe a man who was born the other day, because of, for those of us who are born in the 50s, somebody born in the 70s, like my governor, he seemed to be a young boy, because we have this generational war. If the governor was Nandi, it would be the generation that comes after mine, and therefore I'm the one who can say I'm supposed to be his mentor or his circumciser, to use the crude language. So now the circumciser seems to be at variance with the position of the initiate. And the initiate seems to be doing better than the circumciser. So that's why the circumciser was down, and he had to use some few guys to come and almost clip the camera, because he was not going to get there safely. You could see the way he looked when he was down there. But he forgot to remove specs. Whenever there is a problem, remove specs and put them in the pocket.
Rightly put there.
Yeah, because somebody can punch you. Yeah, the moment I see you are almost charging at me, I remove the specs and I put in my pocket, so that if you punch me, the specs don't become the first weapons.
That will be used against you.
Yeah.
And this far, there are quarters who believe that if you analyze Wetangula's style of politics, oftentimes has been informed by selfish political interest, more of opportunism. Is that the factor that maybe is making now people resonate more with Natembeya and not Wetangula, who has been a seasoned politician in the region for decades?
Yeah, you know, having stayed in office, just like me and many others, by the time you do 20 years, people almost know your style of doing things. They almost know your style of talking, style of, and as you make one sentence, they know the likely sentence you are going to make in the next 1 minute or so. And at times, we make so many promises, and time proves us not to have thought very well about the promises we gave to the people. In that case, people say we are liars. So as you get to my age and you still want to be in politics, you make more enemies than friends, because your capacity is limited by reality. And therefore, Wetangula, yes, I don't want to say he's selfish, but at times he has found himself in a situation that there are so many question marks. For example, he was in the Uko case, murder case, a case that looked like the family was not very comfortable with Kanu or the regime of the day. But at the end of that period, in 1992, after the elections, he was one of the 12 nominated members of parliament. So I said, when did Wetangula change? Comes from the time he was Ouko family lawyer. Then Moi was not happy with the way he was treated after the death of Ouko, and he was nominated Wetangula. Or could it be a coincidence? Or was he there on behalf of Moi? So, you know, these are some of the things that make him not so reliable or believable. Not reliable, believable. Yeah.
But he somewhat believes that he's a reliable and dependable person. Reason I'm saying this is because he has come forth and proclaimed himself to be the latter-day Martin Shikuku and Wamalwa Kijana of the Western Bloc. How right or wrong could he be?
Well, I do not want to ascribe any character to him. It is for history to judge him. Wetangula can fight viciously if his interest is at stake, but not for philanthropic service, like the late Shikuku or the late Wamalwa. So, as whether he's a fighter, history will tell us.
It remains to be seen.
It remains to be seen. Yep.
This far we've seen DAP Kenya, which harbors Trans Nzoia Governor Natembeya, sort of enjoy meteoric rise, and it's sort of sending Ford Kenya to political oblivion. Do you think that Ford Kenya is already on that path of natural death, all thanks to DAP Kenya? Well,
as I've always said, you don't make quick conclusion when you see a contest like that, but it's invariably likely that Ford Kenya will have to struggle to maintain position. especially in Trans Nzoia, and to a large extent the rest of Western, given the fact that Wetangula and Eugene and Natembea belong to two different generations. And therefore, when you are fighting a younger man, let me tell you, Richard, if I was to fight you in any contest, you are likely to win even before you do anything else. Because my age at times makes people not even like to see my face.
You're dead on arrival.
You're dead, almost dead, or struggling on arrival.
So that generation gap.
Generation gap and generation war is something very big. Perhaps part of William's win was the age difference between him and Raila. Had he been fighting a younger person or somebody of his age, he would have had to work extra hard.
A section of legislators believe that Wetangula's legacy is under compromise because of his recent engagement with the local politics, and actually one that oftentimes takes ugly twists. And they're comparing him to the former speakers, Kenneth Marende, Ole Kaparo. And for this particular speaker of the day, do you consider that he's sort of indignified that office?
Well, I feel the other two speakers rose above the fray. The other two speakers, because yes, Marende, he did one term, but he's remembered for making that Solomonic ruling that he was able to navigate two forces that had formed the government, and he was able to deliver a ruling that both sides felt that was reasonable. Ole Kaparo perhaps is one of the longest serving speakers, and I was privileged to serve with him in the same house, both as an MP and later on as my speaker. And he made so many rulings, and remember Ole Kaparo came in at the advent of multipartyism, because the first parliament he presided over as a speaker is the parliament of 1992. And historically I had personal experience with him, in the sense that in 1993, about March, there was a delegation that went to America of 13 members of parliament, which my name was nominated, and the establishment at that time did not like me. Then he called me to his office and he told me, yes, people have reservations about you, but I'm appointing you the chairman of this team that is going to spend 1 month in America, in France and Britain, to study the rules that brings the house committees that you know today. At that time, we used to have just less than 5 committees. Basically, the House Business Committee, the Public Accounts Committee, Public Investment Committee, the other one was the Catering Committee, and from time to time, ad hoc committees that are formed for specific function. Now, all these committees that we hear on education, on security,
defense,
and defense and so forth, is a product of my report, which we went for 1 month with 13 members of parliament. Perhaps in future, when I have a chance to pen down my memoirs, I'll be able to say who went with me and what were the findings. It was an experience. I was a young man then, when I was about 30-something. And to lead delegation of some old people was also a privilege.
It was a first for you.
It was a first and also a privilege. I thank God that every opportunity you get to serve, it is not because you are good. It is because you've been favored, and it's a privilege that you must always carry on broad shoulders.
Moving on swiftly, as a seasoned politician and governance expert, what do you make of Moses Wetangula's insatiable appetite for power display? Do you credit that to perhaps maybe juvenile excitement that can come with the high position he holds in the National Assembly?
You know, I know is a firm debater. He has also made good of himself in terms of acquisition of the material things of the world. But I would wish to advise him that have good memory for good things and also have bad memory for bad things. He seems to remember bad things longer than good things that you do for him. Because you see, Richard, I may have one event that you and I may not have settled well. I should remember all the shows that you've done with me. I should not just take one show that might have gone haywire and say Richard is not a good person.
It supersedes my goodness.
Yeah. So I want to tell my good speaker, Moses Masika Wetangula, have good memory for good things, bad memory for bad things. Don't spend more time talking about vendetta. It will destroy you. Yeah, when when you have vendetta against somebody, it destroys you. At times, I may not agree with you, but it doesn't mean I'm wrong. The circumstances may be different. The information I got when I disagreed with you is different from the actual information that you had.
It could eat you from within.
It can hit you. It can destroy you. That bitterness, even going to a funeral with some goons. Because I was an MP for 20 years. And at no time, it's not that I was so popular, at no time that I faced a situation like that, unless from the police. Otherwise, my constituents knew that I was not antagonistic. So they might have disagreed with me and they may keep quiet when I'm talking, or clap for those who liked what I was saying. But I was very careful that when you are dealing with a situation, you don't have to force everybody to like you. People are different. Some people don't like you because you look like somebody they know they did not like. It is not that if I don't like you, Richard, possibly there is somebody I met so many years ago who looked like you. So when I see you, I remember that fellow. So please forgive me if I don't like you.
Very well.
Yeah. And Wetangula should forgive people when they don't like him or they don't believe in him, because he can easily be a wheeler dealer. I've given you the case of the late Ouko. He was the lawyer for the family. Then he changed. And he became nominee of Kano.
If he continues with this trajectory, it could be on a path of self-destruction.
He could be on a dangerous, slippery path, destined to oblivion.
Destined to oblivion.
Yep.
Very well. Let me ask you this. If you look at the powerful combination of Eugene Wamalwa and Governor Natembeya, who are both domiciled in DAP Kenya, do you think that is a tag team that could perhaps maybe send Musalia Mudavadi and Wetangula to political oblivion in the near future if things are going to remain constant as they are?
It depends on how they manage this public excitement. Indeed, I can assure you, if you went to their rallies, they are big and they are very excited. But consolidation of goodwill is a process that needs maturity and also somebody patient with the people and somebody willing to see 3 miles when he's doing the travel. Because at times you can hit an obstacle if you don't manage the goodwill very well. Consolidation of goodwill is like consolidation of investment. You may invest in so many projects in your lifetime, but none of them you are taking to full production capacity. You might do a few houses, you don't complete them, you do a bit of farming, you forget the chicken die of various diseases, you just run a matatu and the driver rolls over on the road because you never go the right driver. So you can end up, if somebody gave us 100 million today and he came back after 5 years, not because of my old age, you may have done so much that will be worth $500 million, but I might be in debts. You might be in debts. Because I am not handling that goodwill that somebody gave us. Remember even the biblical story. The 3 guys, one hid, one multiplied but less than the other one. And God said, the guy was done well, Jesus, it was Jesus, not God. I will give him more. More will be added unto you. Na yule ambaye kufanya kitu eti niliokopa wewe unaweza kuja kusema nini? Hata ile kidogo alikuwa naye ikachukuliwa. Very lastly, I mean, you are a resident of Trans Nzoia County, and if you look at the Tawe movement, it seeks to address a number of perennial challenges from drought, food security issues in Trans Nzoia, poverty levels, alarming poverty index, and all those issues. Do you think that these are a movement that perhaps could see a change of dawn in terms of Trans Nzoia leadership, if you can compare that with the tenure of former Governor Khaemba? Do you think Natembeya is on the right path and making the right strides? As I said, it depends on how he consolidates the goodwill. It depends on how he's able to take care of diversity. Because at times when there is a lot of nationalism from a section of the county, the rest of the county may get either cautious or scared, not knowing exactly what will happen with this Bukusu nationalism. Because it is really, I cannot say is the totality of Trans Nzoia. There are those who are very cautious. What does it mean for us? What does it mean? How are we going to work with him? So it depends on how he handles that. And if I was to advise him, I will tell him, okay, you've done so well. You have actually earned your second term. I can tell you, unless something short of a disaster, Natembeya is the next governor of Trans Nzoia. But he must manage the Bukusu nationalism in a way that it does not destroy him. Because even after being second term governor, he needs to rise beyond the position of governor. He's young and he's bright, and he's also courageous and hardworking. That you cannot take away from him. But he must manage now. He should be the leader who knows, yes, you like me for the things I say, but also remember your neighbors are your brothers and sisters.
Even with Moses Wetangula and CS Nakhumicha taking the battle at the doorstep of Governor Natembeya, do you think the president has already embraced the fact that it's not going to be a walkover getting Natembeya out of office in 2027 and UDA or Kenya Kwanza penetrating the region?
I think the president knows that, and he's also a politician who is seasoned and is likely to either decide to woo Natembeya to his side, or woo the whole family of DAP, K, or decide to say, okay, I can ignore Trans Nzoia and still go to other places and win the same number of votes. Otherwise, it is not easy for anybody to go against the current wave in Trans Nzoia. It is likely that the next crop of leaders, majority of them will be in the DAPK. Yeah.
Well, there you have it, that point by former Minister Kipruto Arap Kirwa takes us to the wrap of this conversation today, talking matters the political future of Trans Nzoia Governor George Natembeya, and his sort of political feud with none other than National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula, and how that has played out in the public gallery, and what that means for not just the leaders themselves, but also for us citizens who oftentimes are on those rallies listening to them. Until next time on Richard Mwanja Exclusive, it's always a pleasure to have you on board. And for Kipruto Arap Kirwa, asante sana for gracing our editions.
Yep.
We don't take your support for granted.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Kongoi.
Asante.
All right, see you then.